Okay, we're back in section 11.2. We're now going to be working on problem number 46. Market research. Before bringing a new product to market, firms carry out extensive studies to learn how consumers react to the product and how best to advertise its advantages. Here are data from a study of new laundry detergent. The participants are a random sample of people who don't currently use the established brand that the new product will compete with. Now I'm going to underline that because it tells us not only we have a random sample, but it also is giving us our population of interest. That is going to help us to write our hypotheses. Give subjects free samples of both detergents. After they have tried both for a while, ask which they prefer. The answers may depend on other facts about how people do laundry. Then they give us our data. And the question that's being posed, and I'm sorry, having some difficulties with technology here today. Does the sample provide convincing evidence of an association between laundry practices and product preference in the population of interest? And again, sorry about making it difficult to read, just having a couple of issues with things tonight. So if you have a hard time reading this, remember it is number 46 in your book. So back up here, again, we're given our random population or a random sample from our population of interest. So we're going to use that to start working with our problem. I like to always take the data and make sure it's in my answer. Helps me to refer back to it quickly. I gave it a little bit of extra information just in case we need to use that for analysis later on. Looking at this to begin with though, we can already tell these numbers definitely are not equal to each other, but they're not all that far off from one another either. So this one will probably be a close, a chi-square might be close. We might have a higher p-value than we've been seeing with some of the other problems. So pay attention to those things. That way you can anticipate what should happen. So we're going to do a chi-square test of independence. And the reason I chose the chi-square test of independence is because it's asking us for an association. We have an association between two different variables in this one population. I mean, notice we were asking, looking at the one sample of people who looked at both of those things. So one population, two different variables is our chi-square test of independence. Our hypotheses that would go with that test is going to come from that question that was posed to us. There is no association between laundry practices and product preferences in the people who don't currently use the established brand. And again, that's going back to that underlying population that we were given. There is an association between practices and product preferences in this population. As always, we're going to check our conditions. Oh, I also added in an alpha value for us. So our conditions, we know that we had a random, we pointed that out. We have 354 people in our sample. That should be less than 10% of the population who don't currently use the established brand. And we're going to fill in the expected again once we have that all set up. So now we go to our calculator to run through that math. Remember we're going to put this into a matrix. So second matrix, go over to edit. I'm going to adjust this so you can see that up there. So we have our matrix is row is 2 by column is 4. So it should be a 2 by 4 matrix. And we have 53, 27, 42, and 30. Then 63, 29, 68, and 42. Now that our matrix is filled in, I'm going to press Stat, move over to Test, go down to chi-squared test. Our observed are in A. We're going to put our expected in B, and we're going to click on Calculate. Chi-squared is very low, p-value is very high, and our degrees of freedom is 3, which we expect it to be since there were 4 categories. So I'm going to add that stuff into my... Now I always write this stuff down out of my calculator first, because as soon as I leave this screen, it's going to go away. So I'm going to fill this values in first, and then go and check my conditions again. So 0.058, p is 0.56, and our degrees of freedom was 3. Now that I've copied that down from my calculator, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to go second matrix, go down to B, hit enter and enter again. And now I have 49. Now that one's kind of hard to see, so if you can't get through all of that, you can press second matrix, go over to edit, then to B, and then you can move through it a little bit better. So I can copy that down, 49.808, and I can arrow over 24.045, arrow over 47.232, and arrow over, I get 30.915. And just keep going through until you have them all copied down. Now we can definitely see that these are all greater than 5. So our conditions were met. Because our p-value is so high, definitely higher than our 0.05 alpha level, we will be failing to reject. We do not have convincing evidence that there is an association between laundry practices and product preference among people who don't currently use the established brand. Now, just to point out the relationship between this test of independence and our test for homogeneity. On the other side of this paper is where I did our first problem in this section. A couple things I want you to notice. Here we were doing a chi-square test for homogeneity. If you look at our data, we had 3 different treatments, and we were only looking at one variable for it. Our one variable is whether or not they relapsed. So our one variable and 3 different treatments is a chi-square test of homogeneity. Think of homo meaning are they the same? So is it the same distribution on these different populations or these different treatments? Now over here, and then the big part where you're reading that in is right here in the conclusion. The true proportion of cocaine addicts like these relapse when using, so we're looking at how if they're the same for each of these treatments. Now over here on the test of independence, we have 2 different things we're looking at, but all one population. Our one population was that first group of people that we chose, the 354 people that we are looking at. And again, you can tell the difference in the way we've written our conclusion. There is an association between them. We're looking at our 2 variables associated. I hope this helps.